trying to say the loss is a task in itself. When you yourself considered yourself at a time lost. I don't consider myself lost anymore. So I know that I don't have the precise, I guess, means or way to preserve this generation of loss. Because I barely made it out myself. But man, trying to share wisdom or experiences with this younger generation is so difficult. They don't respect anything. Told a young man, from my experience, that it's not a good thing to be playing with females and allowing them to hit you in your face or in your head. And he like, you don't know what you're talking about. We're just playing. He got brothers, and he was like, my brothers play harder than, and hit me harder than this. And I'm like, yeah, I get you. And I get that you raised by a woman. So you're probably used to somebody hitting you in your head. But that's something that you should never normalize. Not get comfortable with. And the woman who hit you, yeah, it was playfully, but she was a little upset with you when she did it. So what happens when she gets a lot upset with you and she hits you harder? Okay, you got restraint right now because it didn't hurt. But just know, it's never going to be acceptable for you to hit back. Though you should have a right to defend yourself. But you are setting the stage and setting the atmosphere by allowing her to hit you in the first place. Playing or not. Next time she called herself playing, she may hit you harder. To the point that now you take notice of that hit and want to lash back out. Don't get comfortable with no woman hitting you, man. That's something that I told my own son, but I wish somebody would have told me, because women used to play and hit me. And see, this young man is bigger than I am. I'm 6'4" and he's taller than I am. So the woman that hit him was very minute and small in size. So, well, that ain't nothing. The woman that used to beat on me was way smaller than me. And of course, when I finally, pushed back, didn't hit her, but I pushed her away from me. She told everybody I beat her. I got accused of domestic violence and everything. And more people was apt to believe that than disbelieve that. As big as I am, no injuries was on her. They said, well, ain't no injuries on you either. But she wouldn't stop. Wasn't no fun for me. Locking people out of the room and holding them down and stuff so they won't hit you. That's not fun. When they, know that you won't hit them and they continue, that's not fun. But this generation, to me, when it comes to stuff like that, they lost. When it comes to physical displays of affection, ain't no wrong with hugging and stuff like that. Come on, I used to kiss, stuff like that, but I'm like, man, they dang near be making out now. And they said, well, you did it, no. We didn't do all that. Not openly, no. Cause it was held accountable. Just like, what you doing? And that would get back to people that could discipline. So no. We did that on the sly, on the sneak. We wasn't out openly, doing those public displays of affection like that where it was just going too far. Yes, I'll kiss my wife out in public, but I ain't finna be all up in her mouth, tongue kissing and all that. You know, I make a brief kiss. The other stuff, say that for home. You know, I've had people tell me, get a room. And I have to consider, okay, let me calm this down. But nowadays, you see young folks and they can't keep their hands off each other. And it don't just be moments and stuff like that, just a moment. No, it be consistently through the whole day. It's like, man, hormones just on rage. But of course, all you see is sexual aspects nowadays and stuff like that. You know, I know I don't believe modesty was a major thing as far as what we see in covering up when you go back to the Old Testament. I really don't. But I don't feel like that there was a lack of control or self-control and decency when it came to those things. You know, a person didn't see somebody's flesh and think, oh, I gotta touch it. I gotta rub it. I gotta caress it. Nowadays, when people, you know, seeing flesh, eyes be on bulge, you know, their body parts fail, you know, when it comes to hiding the lust, their body parts fail. You know, something enlarges and stuff like that. You know, you have obvious visual cues that they're entertained or excited by what they see. Clothes that they wear nowadays is almost all sexual. Again, I don't think modesty was something that was back then. I think they had clothes that showed off the body. But right now, you know, we have such a lack of direction when it comes to that aspect because no one is teaching on that. The world is learning of that on their own. You know, that's not a ministry thing to be taught on. I've always, you know, well, I've said it through my adult years that, you know, I think sex should be taught through ministry. The aspect that, you know, the body and marriage is of Yah, the Most High. So he should dictate and tell us how to do it, why to do it, when to do it. In the confines of marriage, okay, enjoy your spouse. Your bedroom is undefiled. But if you're not married, what you doing? Just out here, just having a free-for-all. And a lot of folks are producing seeds that they can't even take care of or that they don't plan on taking care of. And that in itself, sad thing. Well, I done made it into the journey obviously bound. So let me get off of here. Shalom.